Great.
Yep, cool. All right. So I'll try to run through this as quickly as possible because I know that you've got other things on the agenda to talk about. This is just my information that you see here. Some of the services I provide. I've been a crime prevention coordinator with Seattle Police for coming up on 30 years. Some of the services I provide are block watch organizing, working with those block watches that already exist, getting the ones set up. I am certified in crime prevention through environmental design. That's that CENTED professional designation. So with that, I do a lot of site plan reviews, security assessments for homes, businesses, open spaces. I also do crime follow-ups for either residential burglary, commercial burglary, robbery, as well as loss prevention education, workplace safety, and personal safety education. These are some of the items I'm going to run through real quick. Like I said, I'll try to keep this short, but I also want to give you time for questions and concerns that are specific to Rainier Beach, and I may mention some of those things up front as we go along. So let me go back to this. This shows you what we're going to talk about, but Rainier Beach specific stuff. You know there was a double homicide on May 23rd. It happened out in front of the Rainier Beach liquor store. We do have a suspect in custody for that homicide. So again, this was not something that was random. All the individuals were known to each other. And as I said, we did get that suspect apprehended not too long ago, and he is in custody. Regarding the homicide of Connor Dasa Holland, that's still an ongoing investigation. And because it's ongoing, I don't have anything that I can share with you at this time, but it is still a very active investigation. So those are two things I wanted to cover real quick. Are there any questions on those items at this point, or anything else that's current in the neighborhood that you want me to address? Okay, in that case, I'll move on. The reason I want to talk about terminology is because what you report to us determines how we respond. So that's why I want to talk about these different terms: robbery, burglary, and theft. Because to police, when you call 911, those are very distinct crimes that we respond to. Robbery is a physical taking of property from another person by either force or the use of force, or the implied threat of force. So say, for example, I come up to Dorothy and I say, "Dorothy, give me your wallet," or else. Now I've implied a threat, so that makes it a robbery. Theft, on the other hand, is if Dorothy has her wallet on a table, and I just happen to take that wallet, but I don't use any force to do that. That's a theft. So that is me taking property without a person's permission, but I'm not using force or the implication of force. So that's a theft. Burglary is when someone enters a property, not his or her own, with the intent to commit another crime. And usually that crime is theft. Okay. So if I break in Ann's house with the intent to steal something, that makes it a burglary. Now, whether it's forced entry or not forced entry doesn't make a difference. And the reason I want to bring all these things out is because burglary and theft are crimes against property. Robbery is a crime against a person. Okay. So we treat crimes against people at a higher priority than crimes against the person. So when we get a call and someone says, "I've been robbed," what they're really saying is that my house is broken into. Those are two different priority levels for us. Because in robbery, someone could be in imminent physical danger. Someone could have been threatened or hurt. Okay. Burglary, someone broke in and tried to steal your stuff. So again, one's a crime against property, one's a crime against the person. And those distinctions determine how quickly we respond to those incidents. You may have heard something about home invasion, like a home invasion burglary. That's actually a made-up category. Home invasion is basically a robbery by any other means. Someone breaks into the home knowing somebody's there, holds them at, weapon point or threats, makes threats to get property from that person. It's still a robbery. The fact that they broke into the house is incidental, okay? But if you're calling to report that your car is broken into, that's a theft, that's not a robbery. If you're calling to report that your purse is stolen or that your purse was ripped off your shoulder, that's a robbery, not a theft, okay? Again, the reason I bring this up is to just clarify that what you say and how you report it determines how quickly you respond, okay? So to give you a picture of what's going on in the South Precinct, or Seattle overall, we've seen burglaries up over the city by 23%. A lot of those are commercial businesses that have been boarded up because they're unoccupied, primarily in the West Precinct. And as a result of the business owners not being there constantly and not checking in on the businesses, we're seeing a lot of break-ins of those businesses. At the same time, we've seen citywide where, robberies, as I mentioned, the physical taking of property from another person, have actually gone down. At the same time, we've seen an increase in auto theft. A lot of people are not driving their cars, and for some, they're not checking on their cars. And as a result, their car may be stolen and the person may not notice for a couple of days. Regarding the South Precinct, we've actually seen a decrease in burglaries by 16%, a decrease in robberies by 18%, but we've also seen an increase in motor vehicle theft by 24%. There's no one particular neighborhood, there's no one particular ring, there's no pattern we can identify as to why we're seeing the kind of increases that we have, but it is one of our primary concerns. And, as I mentioned earlier with the shots fired, shootings are an ongoing concern in the South End. The South End leads the city, unfortunately, in the number of shots fired incidents. So that is always an ongoing concern for us. And we've made some significant arrests, not only of the individual responsible for the double homicide on the 23rd, but there's also a running gun battle that happened in New Holly not too long ago. And individuals in that incident have also been taken off the street. With regard to the Rainier Beach, Rainier View area, and if you look in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see the area that's SAM 3, and you'll see it's shaded a little bit differently than the rest of the map. That is the Rainier Beach / Rainier View area, and I chose that area because that seems to represent the bulk of the folks that belong to RBCC. You have seen a small increase in residential burglary over this time last year, 18 versus 16. So you had a 2 incident increase, which made your numbers jump up by 15, by 13%. But we've also seen a decrease in robberies, by over half. And we've had one more auto theft this year than we did last year. So that gives you an overall picture about what's going on with crime. And let's see. Unfortunately, in the full screen view, I don't think I can see your questions. So if you do have questions, you may be putting them in the chat box, but you may just want to, shout out if you can. Give you an idea about residential burglaries. Again, what I'm going to run through now are basically crime prevention tips for different crime types. Who the burglars are, they can be anybody, young, old, male, female. They can be dressed nicely, they can be transients. What they're usually going for are cash, small electronics, jewelry, or weapons. Not saying so many prescription meds being taken, but these 4 items are the biggies. They're either looking for cash or things that can be easily converted to cash. Up until recently, generally, most residential burglaries happen during daylight hours because most people are at work during daylight hours, except for the past few months, which is one of the reasons why we've seen a decrease in residential burglaries, while commercial burglaries happen mostly at night when the businesses are unoccupied. And since that is now the case where those businesses are unoccupied during the day, we've seen an increase in the commercial burglaries. When it comes to residential burglaries, they're often going straight for the master bedroom, going through the dresser, the closets, Again, if you think about where do you leave your valuables, whether it's your jewelry, your cash, your weapons, that's where they're going to. Okay. And how are they doing it? First, they're checking to see if anyone's home, either by knocking on the door or ringing the bell, seeing if anyone answers. If someone does answer, they usually come up with an excuse as to why they're at the door. I recall doing a security assessment for one of the Rainier Beach neighbors, and we happened to hear a car out in front at her neighbor's house. We went out to look, and there's this young lady in a pink hoodie who's knocking on the door, asking if the neighbors were home and if they had a gas can. But we also noticed there was a car up the street waiting, and when we were asking her questions as about, well, no, they're not home. Oh, you need a gas can? Well, where's your car? And the more questions we asked, the more uncomfortable she got, the more, she decided she wanted to go away, and the car that was associated with her also wanted to go away. So it was pretty obvious to us that she was there to case the place, and her cronies in the car were waiting for the all clear from her to come in and commit the burglary. It's for these reasons that I say that if someone comes to your door, answer the door. That doesn't mean open the door. You always want to know who's on the other side of that door before you open it, but you want to send the message that you're home, and send the message in such a way that you're not home alone. Because too often I've read reports about, there being a knock on the door and the person didn't feel like dealing with it, they ignored it, and the next thing they heard was breaking glass coming from the back of the house. So the fact that someone is home oftentimes is enough to deter that burglary from occurring. Okay. I mentioned, force versus non-force. In summertime, we see a lot of non-force burglaries, and that's simply because we open our windows for ventilation and then we leave the house. So I would advise you, don't do that. Force, of course, is someone kicking in the door, breaking the window, but we do see a lot of non-force burglaries during the warm weather months. In terms of the closure rate on residential burglaries, 50% of our assigned cases do get closed, but to be closed, they have to be assigned, they have to be solvable. And what makes a burglary solvable is, are there fingerprints? Are there serial numbers associated with the items that are taken? Are there unique identifiers on those particular items? Are there witnesses? Is there video? Many people have video surveillance now, and that does prove useful in helping us, close these cases, or at least assign the cases. Where these goods wind up, offer up, let go, Craigslist. Again, some of the stuff winds up in pawn shops or mom and pop jewelry stores that are not too discerning about who they take items from. A lot of stolen stuff doesn't wind up in pawn shops anymore because there's a lot of requirements that pawn shops have to, records they have to keep for who brings what in, that most of our criminals don't want to, go through that hassle. So some burglary prevention measures. Lock your doors, even when you're at home, especially if you are working outside in your yard and you're out of view of your door, front door, garage, or whatever, close and lock that. Close and lock your windows, or at least limit how far they can be opened. And you can do that with the use of dowels or track locks. You want to limit the you don't want to limit or leave valuables in close proximity of a window. We've seen reports that even during people staying at home, there have been burglars where a burglar saw something through a window, maybe it was a purse or an iPad sitting on the table, and reached in, grabbed it, and took off without having to actually enter the home. So again, don't leave anything of value, in close proximity to a window. As I mentioned, answer the door if you're home to let people know that you're, that you are there and that the home is occupied. Another thing I encourage you to do is, while a lot of folks are staying at home, take a moment to go outside. Check on the street, check to see what's going on. When you see your neighbors out and about, wave and say hi. And if you see people you don't know, wave and say hi. Send the message that you're paying attention, that you're engaged with each other. And if someone is on the block that is, seeing people come on out and saying hello to each other, it's like, oh, hey, this is a nice, friendly neighborhood. But if their intent is to break into a car or look for a home that may not be occupied, the fact that you've said hi, you've acknowledged their presence, you've let them know that you see them, and you've also let them know just by saying hi that, hey, I see you, and if you do something stupid, I can identify you. How's it going? So you're again sending that message that we're connected, we're watching out for each other. And for those of you who are Block Watch participants, that's really the essence of Block Watch, is watching out for each other. And if you see something that doesn't look right, you say something, you tell each other, and you let police know when you see something that seems out of place with your neighborhood. And I'll say something more about that when we get into talking about crime reporting. I do recommend that you make a household inventory list of all your valuable property. So anything that has a serial number, write it down. Make, model, serial number, whether it's a laptop, a DVD player, if you can, engrave it. Engrave the property with either your driver's license number or state ID number. If it's an item that belongs to a business, you may want to use the business tax ID number. Again, because that, the fact that that item has an identifier on it can actually help us recover it and return it to the proper owner. Okay. For those items that you can't engrave, like jewelry, take photos of them and write a description of them. And you want to make sure that your insurance coverage is current. But also, if you do take pictures of your expensive items or videos or whatever, think about where you store that, because if you have it on a chip in your digital camera, and the camera's stolen, you've lost all that info. So one thing I did is I did a household inventory. I engraved all my items, the DVD player, the flat screen. I made a list and I emailed it to myself. So it's sitting out there. So you may want to consider that too. Something else you may want to consider. Here's a post from Heidi Wills, somebody I met on the campaign trail last year, telling everyone that she and the family are in Germany. Okay. So having done this on Facebook to how many ever followers she has, she's also told people that our home is unoccupied. So come on over. Yeah. So when my family and I traveled to Germany a few years ago, I made sure that nothing was posted about where we were until we got back. So all the photos of us at Neuschwanstein and all that, didn't get posted until after we got back from Germany. So just something to keep in mind. You already may know this, that if you're going to be out of town, stop your, have mail held, have your newspapers held, or have a neighbor come pick them up. You can use your timers for your lights, as well as your television and radio, to give the impression that there's some level of activity still going on at the home. If you have an electric garage door opener, you may want to unplug that, for the duration that you're gone, so that someone doesn't, try, taking a remote and, trundle down the street to see if they can open any door that, they have. Also, let somebody know. Let trusted neighbors know that you're going to be on, and to, hopefully keep an eye out on the house. And if they see something that, looks suspicious, like a U-Haul pulling up in front, they might want to call police. Alarm systems. Some people are considering alarms. You have to determine what's going to work best for you. Is your living situation such where an alarm is practical? If you have kids, roommates, pets, some of the alarms out there that are available are not going to be practical for you, but you can get some that are pet friendly. They're not going to go off every time the cat walks by. For those who I know people have home healthcare providers, um, and they'll give the provider and their own separate access code so they can tell who's come in and when they've come in. If you're going to consider an alarm, my recommendation would be uh, detectors on every entry point and most detectors in high priority areas. One of the things I do as a crime prevention coordinator is home security assessments. So I can make recommendations for you on what you can do to burglar proof your home or make your home more burglar resistant. Some of that may include, if you're thinking about alarms, where to place the sensors. Unlike an alarm company, I'm not there to sell you stuff. I am not in the business of making money for alarm companies. So rather than sell you all the bells and whistles, my advice would be, if you're considering this, here's the bare minimum you should look at. One of the things I do recommend is that if you're going to get an alarm system, get one that makes a lot of noise, not only inside the house, but outside the house so neighbors can hear it. Because the last thing burglars want to do is attract attention to themselves. And once that alarm is tripped, more often than not, that burglar is going to take off running. Okay? Whether you have a monitored system, a lot of the systems out there, that's where the alarm companies make money, is on the monitoring. There's a monthly fee for that. And if you don't sign up for the monthly fee, basically the alarm system won't work. So that's something to check into when if you're in the business for shopping for an alarm system. A lot of alarm systems now integrate cameras. They can be good deterrents. In some cases, people don't care if you have cameras, but they're very good for detectives for follow-up. When we get camera footage that has good definition and picks up facial features, that is very helpful for us. So there's a number of different systems out there. Some of the security companies like ADT, for example, have camera, rather than partnering with Ring, which they used to do, they also now have their own camera integration built into some of their systems, so they're not contracting with Ring to provide cameras for them anymore. Many of these are inexpensive. You can get a 5-camera blink system at Best Buy for about $250. So and they're wireless. They all send alerts to your phone. They're very easy to use. Most of them have cloud-based storage, which is very inexpensive and also very easy to retrieve. Mail theft and package theft. These are two things that we have been seeing a lot of. Some people during the COVID time are just leaving mail in their mail slots because they want to let it sit a while before they actually go collect the mail. And as a result, people are going through mailboxes and getting mail that's been left in mailboxes for 2 or 3 days. So I would say pick up your mail every night. Don't leave anything overnight. Don't mail checks. The whole thing about leave it in the mailbox and they'll collect it for you. I would say that rather than just leave it in the mail slot for the postal worker to come pick up, you may want to drop it off at a collection point. The nearest one for you all is going to be in Skyway. In terms of a post office, I'm not sure if you've got any drop boxes that are in your immediate area, but that's better than just leaving it in your mailbox. You may want to consider locking mailbox. You can check with the postmaster about regulations for that. I do know some people have gotten locking mailboxes, but still have them broken into. So make sure they're installed properly and that they're very secure. You can sign up for informed delivery through the Postal Service so that you can track what's going to be delivered to you, when it's going to be delivered. It's a very easy service to sign up for. So again, that may be something that you do get, so when, what's coming and when. After reporting, we want you to report the mail or package theft to SPD via 911 or the non-emergency line. You can also use our online reporting, which I'll cover in just a moment. but also report that theft to the U.S. Postal Inspector Service. Okay. Package theft, again, we have a lot of people who, receive packages, from any number of different sources. And we have folks that follow those trucks around after the package is delivered. So you may want to choose a packing method that requires, signature. You can track the shipments online. Um, you can use a locker. I know that there's lockers down at Safeway and other locations for package delivery. For me, if I'm expecting a package, I usually have it delivered to my place of work. I think it's pretty secure at the precinct if someone is going to, deliver a package. But you may also want to think about, having a trusted neighbor, be the person who picks up the package. Quickly, auto thefts and car prowls. We talked about auto thefts; those are up. Car prowl is, there's a difference between auto theft and car prowl. Auto theft is someone steals. And as I said, we've seen a spike in, during the stay-at-home order. Car prowl is where someone takes something, usually a bag, phone, spare change, in some cases weapons. Okay, so again, both of these are considered theft. Okay, so things you can do about that. Definitely remove your keys. Close and lock the doors. Do not leave your car idling and unattended. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a Starbucks or a 7-Eleven and someone runs in to get a coffee. They leave their car outside running. Number one, that's a good way to get your car stolen. Number two, it's actually against state law to leave a car idling. If possible, park in in busy in a busy area. If you're going to be parking in a lot, hopefully the lot is attended. If not, park in an area that's well lit. For your home areas, consider parking your vehicle in such a way that there's a light on it, or maybe you put a motion light on that car. Since a lot of car prowls happen at night, if someone approaches your car and the motion sensor goes off, number one, that person's just drawing attention to themselves. And it may, cause you to look outside your window and go, hey, why did my alarm, why did that light pop on? It may cause you to go out and take a look to see what's going on. Always remove valuables from your car. If you can't remove them from the car, place them in the trunk before you get to your destination. One of the biggest crimes we see down at Sewer Park is car prowl. And it's because, people don't, want to walk around the park. They don't want to, when the parking lot was open, they don't want to have to take their stuff with them. So they put it in the trunk. Unfortunately, they put it in the trunk while they're at the park, showing everybody that they just put stuff in the trunk. So get a lot of trunks broken into. That's why I say, before you get to your destination, put those items in the trunk if you cannot take them, inside. And especially now, for those of you who may not be driving a lot, do check on your vehicle regularly because of the spike that we've seen in auto theft. Bicycle theft, another issue that,
Can I ask a quick question about the car theft?
Yeah.
It's a really silly question, but it may just be my brain is off, getting older, I'm not sure. But I had my car rifled through twice in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and they just took all sorts of random stuff, and I swear I locked it. And a friend of mine told me that there's a new item out there that you can buy on Amazon that can gather the signal from my fob, my car fob, and then open my car from my house. Do you know about that?
I've heard about that. That's actually something that I've seen a lot of here. If someone's going to break into your car, we're not talking about, a high level of sophistication. It's probably pretty much going to be brute force, such as using a spark plug. A spark plug can shatter your passenger window really easily. Or
I'm a skier, so I had one of those things where you could break the window and cut your strap if you went off this, toppled over the side of the mountain. They stole that. So now it'll be really easy.
Yeah, exactly. So, I have heard about those devices. and what someone, and again, some of the things you see on the internet are questionable, about actually taking your key fob and putting it in an aluminum can in your freezer to block the signal.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking for. Like, what was an easy way to block that if that's actually
Yeah.
happening? I'm also going to try to remember if I locked it a little bit better.
Yeah. But I can tell you the locking your car works because, in my own experience, my car was parked right behind my wife's car. Her car was locked. My car was unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes mine was gone. They didn't break her windows. Basically, someone tried the door handles. Car was open, and they went through and rifled through and all the stuff. They didn't get anything. But you would think that me, as the crime prevention guy, would know to lock my damn car.
Exactly. That's how I feel.
Yeah, so it happens to everybody.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. I'll try to wrap up here pretty quick. Let me just check on time. Oh, yeah, I better wrap up pretty quick. I just noticed the time. Bicycle theft is also a big problem, primarily because a lot of people have their bikes stolen and they have no way to identify that the bike belongs to them. So, one, use a U-lock because it's much harder to cut. Secure your bike to a rack. Engrave that thing with serial numbers on any removable part. Take photos of the bike, write down the serial number. You can register your bike online. You can report a stolen bike via online reporting. The reason that I say that bike theft is a big problem is because we probably have 700 bikes in our evidence warehouse right now that will never get back to their owners because there's no way for that owner to prove that that bike is theirs. So that's why it's important. Write down your serial numbers, engrave the serial numbers on the bike, take pictures of it. These things, like I said, they wind up on OfferUp, or they wind up in our warehouse, and eventually they get donated to charity. Quickly reporting. Okay. Ooh, did I do that line? We want you to report all suspicious behaviors and activity. I don't know who's doing that.
Mark, I'm sorry, it's Ann. I did that. I was trying to scroll
Oh, okay.
down the picture. I don't know why it's creating a red mark. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Anyway, we do want you to report all crimes. We know that there's a lot of crimes that are not reported because we are a data-driven department. If it's not reported, it didn't happen. Okay. Reporting drives where we put our resources, how we allocate those resources, how many resources we get, where we put our officers. So it's very, very important that you do report. A lot of people use Nextdoor to report things to each other. Do not use Nextdoor to report crime because we can't see it. We may be able to post to Nextdoor, but we cannot see your Nextdoor feeds. So just because it's on Nextdoor, don't assume that we know because we don't. If you want to report something, you got to use 911. Please do not use 911 to report people being outside, breaking COVID, distancing rules. That's not a 911 call. Okay.
I have a question about this when you have
Yeah.
a chance. Should I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. There's been a group outside of the Fred Hutchison Park right here near Emerson. They've been coming like 2, 3, 4 times a week and arriving like midnight till 2 in the morning, like really late, making like about, I'd say 12 cars, maybe, like sometimes less than that. And they've been lots of noise and I've called a couple times.
Right. Are you talking about the area that's right on Pilgrim or on the side
on Pilgrim,
park in the school?
The Pilgrim side.
Okay. Yeah. See, and that's the difference between people being outside because they're tired of being cooped up in the living rooms. People who are you know, gathering in, how do I want to put it? Why you got 12 cars gathered at midnight in front of Fred Hutch Park, late at night, again, this is where we focus on the behavior. Not just what are they doing outside, but what are they actually doing? So if they're outside drinking and smoking and toking and being loud, that's a behavior we can go address. So it's okay to say, hey, here's what's going on. Want to report this? Can you have somebody come check it out? Okay, that's completely different than, I got 6 guys outside the Jefferson Golf Course who are, hanging out and barbecuing, 4 in the afternoon.
Right.
Completely different. Okay.
So I have been, when I've called on 911, they've directed me to non-emergency.
Yeah.
And then they directed me to the Parks Department, and they kind of like implied that I shouldn't be calling because it's COVID and the police are busy doing other things.
Yeah. But no, it is appropriate to, especially if, I guess the guidance would be, what makes you feel that a crime is being committed, has been committed, or is about to be committed? They're out drinking and they're getting ready to get in cars. Okay, that's something we want to come address. Do you see anything that indicates some sort of narcotics exchange or narcotics use? Yeah, we want to get there and address that because, those people could be impaired. The fact that they're out at midnight and there's a bunch of them, again, what are they actually doing might be criminal in nature.
Right, yeah. So like if it's just them, like what it is, they're making a lot of noise. They got their radios blaring, their doors are slamming.
Yeah. That's what you can call in is a noise complaint.
Okay.
Noise complaint may not be not going to get a high priority, but also pay attention to what you're hearing. If you're hearing voices that start to get loud and angry and threatening, and you may have something that's about to devolve into a fight disturbance, then we want to know about that. But letting us know that, I got a bunch of guys gathered at the park after park hours, and they're being very loud, and, can you have someone check it out? Okay.
Hey, Mark, it's Kathy Weibel. I have a question too. Before the virus, what was going on with the light rail? Is it safe for people to be walking, from the light rail up here? Does it matter whether it's during the day or early evening? Or have they stopped the robberies that were going on there?
Yeah, the robberies have gone down. So we've seen a decrease in robberies precinct-wide, especially around the light rail areas. And what we were seeing is that the robbery incidents weren't happening on the platforms. They were happening away from the platforms, usually on a side street that was pretty dark. Didn't see a whole, saw some in the Rainier Beach area, but more in the around the Othello station area. When we were having a significant amount of those happening, officers were actually riding light rail, or when we had our officers on bikes, there'd be, in and around the platforms themselves as people were, as people were leaving. So we were doing some robbery emphasis around the light rail nodes, and that definitely seemed to help.
Thank you.
Okay. Again, I'm being conscious of your time. If you like, I can actually send this presentation to you so that you can share it with the membership, maybe post it on your website. Couple things I did want to leave with you is there's Smart 911, which is, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it, but it's actually through a third-party company, Rave, where you can enter in any phone number that you're associated with as much information as you'd like, so that when you call 911 from that phone, all your information pops up. So for those of you who, like me, don't have a landline and only have a cell phone, when I call 911, my address pops up, my name, my medical conditions, pets, access points, all the information that is going to be helpful for that 911 call taker to pass on, so that, if you have trouble speaking, if you have trouble communicating what's going on, that information is already there. Now, when that call ends, we take that, the information disappears. It's not something that the police department stores. You control it. You control how much information is there. And I highly recommend it for those who have cell phones as their primary, because when you call 911 on a cell phone, all we may get is the nearest cell tower. We won't get your exact location. Okay. Pizza Hut may be able to locate you exactly, but we can't. So putting in as much information as you can that you're comfortable sharing, so that first responders can get that information, whether it's fire department or police department. Okay. Some of you may be familiar with the Find It, Fix It app. You can use it to report abandoned cars, needles, graffiti, illegal dumping, park enforcement requests. This is actually where people can report encampments. We don't want people calling 911 about someone who's unsheltered, but you can call the customer service bureau or make a report through the Find It, Fix It app, which ties into the customer service bureau, so they can get it referred to the navigation team and human services for outreach to be done to those individuals. It is not available on Windows. It's only for Androids and iPhones. So it's a mobile app, and it's very easy to use. This actually does geolocate. So if you're reporting illegal dumping, you can take a picture of it. It'll put in the coordinates for you, and you can just type a brief description of what it is you're reporting. Hit send. You'll get an email confirmation, that your report's been received. And because of the way the system is set up, once you report it through Find It, Fix It or customer service, you have to get a response. It won't be ignored. Someone has to respond to it. Someone has to follow up on it. Any questions? That previous slide was about getting block watches going. If you don't have one, I'll be happy to work with you to get something going with you and your neighbors. If you do have one and want to get it rejuvenated, willing to help you out with that as well. So I know it took up a little bit of time there, but please, if you have any questions.
I have one. I was curious if if the SPD, I guess part of crime prevention, does like deeper analysis of like why do people steal? Why do they break into houses? And like, are there investments that we can make in our community to like reduce the reason why people commit these crimes?
Most of the crimes that we're seeing, like burglary and car prowl, auto theft, most of them are just crimes of opportunity. The opportunity presents itself. It's not necessarily that people are stealing because they don't have opportunity. That may be some of it, but a lot of our theft and burglary problems are really kind of tied to substance abuse issues. So a lot of car prowls, a lot of auto thefts are being done to support a heroin habit, for example. So many of the reasons that people are breaking into homes, stealing cash or things that be easily converted to cash, is so they can get their fix. So that's where some of it is being driven. And again, a lot of it may just be opportunity, and some of it is with some of our unsheltered population, especially in the Soto area, it's survival. It's, I need food or I want a beer, kind of thing. So that's where some of the shoplifting is coming from, is just, trying to survive. But some of the thefts that we've seen from like Home Depot, for example, those are organized crime rings. They're stealing generators and power tools and the whole bit, not because they're trying to, support a fix or support a habit, but because there's big money involved. So, there's some things that societally we could do to reduce some of these incidents, and that's more through mental health and substance abuse treatment. There's other things that we can do to engage our young people more, because unfortunately you get some kids together who get bored, they wind up doing stupid stuff. I know because I was a kid. So being involved with Rotary, Boys and Girls Club, or like space camp or tech camps or employment opportunities. The best crime prevention program that I can think of is a job. If you're working and you got money, you don't need to get into mischief, because that's going to jeopardize your money. So I'm sorry, I just editorialized. I apologize.
No, that's what I wanted. I was wanting to hear those kinds of things. So that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you've got other business that you need to attend to. So if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and jump off the call and let you continue with any other follow-up business that you have. Do keep in mind that even though we're in lockdown, I'm still going out and doing security assessments for folks. I'm still doing things with businesses in terms of crime prevention and workplace safety, even if it may be via Zoom. So we're still open for business. And so just let me know how I can be of service to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Mark.
You'll enjoy the rest of your night.
Too.